You mentioned you started playing games at 6 years old. Do you remember the first video game you played?
Yes, I do remember. It was my birthday when I turned 6, and my father had bought me a Commodore 64, and it was this. I think it was. It wasn't Space Invaders, but it was some sort of a clone of it. That was the first game that I played on my monochrome little portable TV. In the region where I work, I'm the only game studio founder here, so.
Wow. So, okay, give me a picture. Where are you located?
Finland is, small country shaped somewhat like this, and I'm dead in the middle of the woods. And this area where I live, the other game developers here are calling it the Death Valley. So
Why?
because we don't have any kind of culture regarding game industry, and so like I mentioned, I'm the only game developer around here. And I'm the first and only. I have the first and only game studio in the whole region.
So you've officially put your town on the map. You've made your town famous.
Well, I still have some work to do with that regard, but yeah.
You'll get there, I have no doubt. If you had to pick one game, what would be your favorite game of all time? I know it's a difficult question.
Yeah, and I actually gave it a lot of thought when you sent me the questions, and it's probably I had to say that it must be Secret of Monkey Island 2 from LucasArts. It's I think if you consider an adventure game, that's one of the best examples out there. I think it's close to a perfect adventure game. There are a couple of flaws here and there, but the way it has been balanced between the puzzles and the story, and I think it's a very, very good example of game from this genre, and I think that everyone who wants to make an adventure game should play it. And I have a habit of playing it once a year. But it was a close race because I have two other top contestants, and the second one is Gabriel Knight from Sierra. The first one, it's a very good murder mystery, and it has been written extremely well, and it has aged quite nicely. And the third one is Star Trek 25th anniversary, because I'm a huge Star Trek nerd, and it's also an adventure game, and I think it captures quite well the spirit of the original TV series.
Okay, perfect. Admittedly, I haven't played any of them, so I'll add them to my games list, and then we can exchange notes. I'll let you know what I think.
Yeah, I'd be very interested.
I'm also curious to understand if there's any meaning behind using advanced technology robots.
Well, I think it links to the idea of because the Infinite Hotel is so large that it expands beyond human control, and uh, we are automating things quite a lot, and I don't think it's a good thing. So maybe it's a bit of a statement towards the artificial intelligence conversation that we are having today. So, and I don't think that it's good to automate everything, and maybe in the game you will see what will happen.
I had a feeling that might be your answer. So yeah, I'm curious. Let's wait until the game's finished and let's wait. But I agree. I think that topic is very in vogue at the moment. And at least for the next 5, 10, 15 years, we're going to have more topics around robots and technology, and so we shall see. You've mentioned that the animation and style of the game is inspired by European children books. Why have you chosen to use this style? Is there any specific meaning behind it?
Couple of reasons, because when I was a little kid, 35 years ago, the majority of the stuff that we saw on TV, it was this fabric cloth animation kind of thingies that came from the old Soviet country, and I think partly because of that, a lot of the animation stuff that the Finnish broadcasting company used came from the old Soviet countries. So there's a pretty vivid memory of that kind of style from my childhood. So I really wanted to pay some sort of homage to that, because When I was a kid, I thought that this looks very, very ugly compared to the American.
It's different, very different.
Yeah, but in older age, I've learned to appreciate it because it was very hard work, and they actually, I think they had a pretty similar idea as myself, that they needed to produce content, but with a very limited budget. So I think these
Limited resources. So you respect what they've done with little resources. You have stated that Hyperdrive Inn has been a weird project because there has not been many struggles. Or I specifically think you said there has not been any struggles. So talk to me about the typical struggles you have experienced in previous games that you have not experienced making Hyperdrive Inn.
if there are any aspiring indie developers watching the stream, I would probably say that learn the basics before you start doing anything else. And for this game, I was smart enough to build a solid technical foundation before I started adding content, and it has been it has been a very, very big relief for my mental health, because everything just works, and for the past several months I've been able to focus only on content, and it has and it has to do most part with the technique, with the foundation, that everything works. It's a lot easier to start building upon a solid foundation, rather than you have to use duct tape to fix everything while you go. And I've been there, and it's pretty nasty stuff.
I can imagine. I can't even imagine the work and the frustration that would go into making any game. So yeah, I think practice makes perfect. I have a bit of a silly, facetious question here. You mentioned that the robot can do some pretty nasty stuff. What is that nasty stuff?
They have been programmed to do all kinds of things, but they do only what they are programmed to do. So I think that it's more of a generalization, and it links to what I mentioned earlier about the excessive use of technology. And when you put a programmed robot in a managerial position, and you're not quite sure of what kind of code it runs, so you can expect some interesting situations. And I think that one of the key influences in these robots has been the HAL 9000 from 2001 Space Odyssey. And in that movie, I'm going to spoil a bit, but it's an old movie, so I can probably do it.
I think you're safe to do so.
Yeah. The robot in 2001 Space Odyssey was instructed to withhold some key mission information from people that were on board the space mission to Jupiter. And the robot thought that, and because of this, the robot thought that the humans cannot be trusted, because they are not you can't give them vital information, and because they cannot be trusted, they are a threat, so they have to be killed.
Oh no. Cool. Everyone play the game and see what nasty stuff the robot can do. Yeah. I just wanted to talk about the randomization throughout the game. You're hoping to create the high replay value. You're wanting gamers to play the game multiple times. What are you hoping the gamer to experience by playing it multiple times?
Well, of course, the replay value is a thing that is very, very. It usually is missing from adventure games. You play through, and then you put it on your shelf, and you're done with it. With this game, I wanted to basically explore a bit how the narrative is usually understood, because when you think about a book, a movie, or a traditional linear adventure game, basically the whole obstacle course and the narrative, it's predetermined, and the scriptwriter is responsible for all the meaning that the product conveys to the one who is consuming it. And because of the randomization, all the levels for single playthrough, they are determined by a computer. There is a array of different levels, and they are selected at random. Basically, everything links together, and there is, of course, a script behind it. But the individual experience, it rises on par with the stuff that I have made to this, and I think it's something that can only be done in video games, and I think it's a very, very interesting thing, and it hasn't been utilized that much in adventure games. So that's basically the reason that why I want to use a lot of randomized content.
You're right. I also didn't think about that either. You can't do it within a movie. So that technique of randomization is only through video games. So why not continue that and build upon that? That's really cool. I didn't even think about that either. I feel like you're teaching me so much. You have stated you have been chatting with your friend for a while to create a game with Finnish folk music. This is so random. Why?
Well, because I live at Kaustinen. This is this very, very small town at the middle of the middle of Finland, and middle of the woods, like I mentioned earlier. This place it's basically the center of the universe of folk music, and I've been violins and stuff. I've grown in the middle of that, and I'm not a musical person, not one bit, but. The Finnish folk music, it has this very, very distinct tone. You can look it up, Google Kaustinen in YouTube, and you will probably see what I mean. And basically, it's one way of paying homage to my own roots. And our composer Juhana Lehtiniemi, who is making this pretty amazing score, has studied here at musical high school of Kaustinen, which it's very, very folk oriented here too. So we've been talking about years that it would be pretty fun to make a soundtrack that would heavily be influenced from folk music, and now we are able to do that. And I think it fits quite well to the aesthetic, the fabric aesthetic of the game. So it really elevates the uniqueness of the title.
Absolutely. And I think you've also stated that you think it's the very first video game created to have Finnish folk music. So I guess this is probably a challenge for the viewers and listeners. Confirm if this is true or not. Do you know if it's true?
At least to my knowledge, there hasn't been any other title yet that has been using the Finnish folk music. There's been this northern Finland, Lapland. There's this Sami people who live there. There was this game called Skapma. It used some of their traditional music, but it's still a bit different from what we are using. So I would say that this is the first title.
So, Hyperdrive Inn is your fourth commercial video game project, and you have stated that all your previous games have been story-first titles. Why is it so important for Hyperdrive Inn to have a deeper level of gameplay compared to the other games you've created?
This is it's a twofold answer, because when you are making this very linear narrative title, which is very, very simple in terms of gameplay, you don't actually have to play it. You can watch a stream of it.
Right.
Happened to our first game, which was titled Lydia. It was this very, very short narrative experience. You could complete it in an hour, and it was this very, very dark tale about substance abuse from a viewpoint of a small child, and it was a moderate hit, at least here in Finland. We won a bunch of awards for it, and there were very, very popular streams of the game that garnered hundreds of thousands of viewers. But because they saw the game on stream, they didn't buy it, so it didn't sell that well. And I thought about this, and then I made the game I already mentioned, Good Morning, which was this visual novel, but with somewhat randomized content. But it became boring because you really didn't have that much to do other than to follow the story. And of course, the local news with Cliff Rockslide, it's also a visual novel of sorts. There is this pretty cool camera mechanic on it when you broadcast these small news thingies. You have to control your video camera to get the best angles and shots. but that was also a bit of a superficial thing that was slapped on top of a visual novel. And like I mentioned, I love adventure games and I've always wanted to make one. So I decided that, well, damn it, I'm going to do it. And
And put your small town on the map and be the first video game studio in Finland in that area.
yeah, yeah, and and making an adventure game, it's been somewhat of a scary thing, and I thought that it's going to be a lot of work, and like I mentioned, limited time, limited budget, but it has been very rewarding. I think designing these puzzles and implementing them into the narrative, it's been the most rewarding thing of game development.
Makes sense. So I guess overall, you're a video game developer that wants gamers to actually play the game, not just watch the game. So yeah, you want people to enjoy it, experience it, go on the adventure. So I respect that. And in terms of that streaming comment, I actually never even thought about that. Just from a commercial perspective or from a sales perspective. I don't know if you have the answer to this, but is there a correlation from streaming becoming popularized and less sales of video games? Is that a thing? Do you know?
I think it probably depends on the game, and I think for myself, I think all coverage is good coverage, and I really don't mind people streaming stuff that I have made, and I think it's a good thing. But these very linear narrative types of games, and I think that they probably do suffer a bit from streaming because, like I mentioned, that in our game it's a very short 45 minutes to 1 hour, so that's something that you can relatively easily watch on stream and you don't have to do the effort of playing the game.
It makes sense. I just never thought about it before. So it's an interesting comment. Behind every great game developer is.
A human. I thought this quite a lot because I think the in some regard the industry is quite brutal, and these humane values, they often get forgotten. There are still some pretty nasty crunch thingies happening, and when you think about, for example, the Cyberpunk 2077, it's a game that has been extremely brutal for the developers because they had to crunch months on end, and for me, it has been always about the journey, and the end result is something that comes after it, and the journey is something that should be enjoyed, and I'm lucky enough to be able to be on this journey with some of the best friends that I have. So I'm trying my best to enjoy it, and I want the people that who are with me that also enjoy it. That it should be a fun experience, and it will show. And I'm really confident that it will also show in the end result that we haven't destroyed any lives while making this.
Absolutely. I think you guys should be very proud of yourself. And I also am quite envious on the fact that you're ticking some of those personal boxes. You're using the folk music, you're using, illustration or anime that reminds you of your childhood. You're ticking all those boxes, which is really cool. You're really making the game, I feel like you're really making the game you guys want to be making.